Hello, Ren here. To start off with, I just want to clarify that I do indeed enjoy some ecchi shows, and that I have nothing against ecchi shows with substance. But a few years ago I stumbled across an ecchi show that seemed like a kind of example, as in, this is a great example of how not to do an ecchi show, and so, using this series, Oretachi ni tsubasa wa nai, I'll address the things it does that ruin an ecchi show, and things in general that contributed to it being a subpar anime. I also haven't played the visual novel, so this is a discussion about the anime only. I'm gonna read out the blurb on the DVD case so you can get a taste of how weird and disjointed this show is. Timid Takashi wants to escape to an alternate world where he is a heralded knight, but is held back by thoughts of his younger sister and his girlfriend. Part-timer and all-around upbeat guy Shusuke has a disastrous first encounter with a woman who turns out to be his new co-worker. Handyman Hayato is a hard-boiled loner that has random encounters with two gangs and a girl with a uniform fetish. Throw in plenty of fan service, random humour, an alternate medieval world, and your narrator, DJ Condor, and you get We Without Wings under the innocent sky. Now, it says parody on the back. It says, a frisky visual novel parody by the creators of Shuffle, but I don't think they know what that is. Knowingly including gratuitous fan service and giving a nod to the audience doesn't make it parody. Your show is still bad even if you knowingly made it bad, and it's not a so bad that it's good show either. I don't even see any parody elements in this show, so I'm confused as to why they seem to think it is parody. The narrator does break the fourth wall a lot, but that doesn't make it parody. I think they've tried to use this popular word in order to sell more copies, to be honest. The popularity of YouTube has made parody a very sellable word. Ecchi shows often have loads of characters. This happens because they want a heroine to match with every fetish possible, so that the ecchi parts of the show can cater to everyone's taste. An example most people know is Highschool DxD. Each main heroine caters to a certain type. There's the forward dominant girl, Akeno, the cute trap Gasper, the confident leader Rias, the mean lolly Koneko, the innocent klutz Asia, and the strong and silent Zenobia. Usually this isn't a problem, but Oretachi ni tsubasa wa nai actually has 3 protagonists because of a split personality, and they all have different girls in their own individual harems. It's hard to keep track of them all. It also doesn't help that the girls don't have as discerning personalities, so it's easy to forget who is who. Like, this is Asuka, who is Takashi's classmate and fake girlfriend. She's nice to him and wants to help him with his mental problems, but she doesn't really go any further than that. All she really does is talk to Takashi about his split personality near the end, and apart from that, she's just a character that hangs around Takashi and doesn't do much. This is Hiyoko, who is a novelist who works part-time with Shusuke, the second personality. She's kinda blunt and dutiful, but also gets embarrassed easily. She's also a bit clueless at times and inappropriate. Like, she openly tells Shusuke the colour of her underwear when asked, but then gets embarrassed when he walks in on her changing later. I don't really know what she's meant to be. This is Naru, an airheaded schoolgirl that likes men in uniforms, and she lost her bike. She asks Hayato, the third personality, for help finding it, and she likes him. And her brother is involved in a gang war that's going on. That's it for Naru. The last girl is Kobato, the sister character. She's the only character who knows about the split personalities, and she spends most of her time cooking and cleaning at home, and I can't think of any other traits she has. The only other thing is that she helps Takashi towards the end with a speech. Now for the leads. Takashi is the main personality. He's a school student that daydreams as a form of escapism, but truly believes that his daydreams are real. He's kind of a Chunibyo. Hayato is a handyman who does odd jobs and is grumpy, but known and liked by people on the street he walks around. The last personality is a part-time bartender and journalist Shusuke, who spends most of his time working at the bar. He's friendly and light-hearted and provides a lot of the comic relief. That's a lot to remember, right? And I've only scraped the surface of the amount of female supporting love interests there are for each lead. It's overwhelming and not explained very well, so most people are confused for most of the series. Even when you figure out the personality gimmick, it's hard to remember who everyone is. Now, this is an ecchi show, so a lot of fan service is to be expected. Ain't nothing wrong with that. The problem is the when and the why. Let's compare an ecchi fan service scene from Highschool DxD and Oretachi ni Tsubasa wa Nai. Then ask, why? In Highschool DxD, Issei and the girls go to the world of monsters to choose Issei a familiar. There he finds slime which dissolves the girls' clothes. They all panic and Issei makes a speech about how he chooses the slime as his familiar, but before he can finish, Ria shoots the slime with magic and destroys it. Issei breaks down and cries. Hilarious. Why? Because Asuya ends up getting a familiar instead, who's helpful and a running gag. The entire scene is also a great comedy, with lots of different gags within it, e.g. a guide that can only speak in rhymes, and a female spirit that turns out to be gross. Now for the Oretachi scene. There's a cutaway scene where the female characters are doing a Christmas photo shoot in skimpy Santa outfits. They end up arguing with each other and ruining the shoot with lots of skirt flips and tops ripping off. Why? I don't know. If anything, it's an annoyance, because the jokes are all the same gag of women getting angry at each other and tearing their clothes off. Is that even a joke? It's played out like a joke, but I don't see why it's funny. Is this scene canon? We don't know. The main problem with this scene is that it's a cutaway. It literally cuts away from the storyline in order to give us a scene of Santa girls, and I find myself waiting for this unfunny, boring fan service scene to be over, so I can get back to the actual plot. And there are several cutaways like this in the show. Why? Terrible fan service filler. It didn't fly when Code Geass did it, and it's not going to fly now. The personalities' lives only interact with each other in one episode, where Hayato goes to Takashi's school. They're all so secluded. It's like watching 3 soap shows at the same time. It's really confusing. It would have made more sense and been more interesting if they had some things in common or shared some heroines. Complicated shows are fine, as long as they're explained well and written clearly with good pacing. The pacing in this show is weird. There is a whole episode where a 4th personality from Takashi's dream world takes over the main character, and only agrees to give his body back to him at the end of the episode. Nothing of consequence happens, and it's just filler. This is towards the end of the show, where tension should be high. Not a great time for a filler episode. And on top of these 3 separate stories, there's also Takashi's dream world to keep track of, with separate heroines inside it and a plot involving kingdoms being at war. This show is only 13 episodes long. There's too much going on to cram into such a small show. There's no time for explanations, but they do find time for cutaway gags about water fights that last way too long. Everything is so higgledy-piggledy. Am I supposed to care about the plot, or drool over the girls? I don't know. The show's plot is so weird and convoluted that you have to pay proper attention in order to understand who is who and what's happening. On the other hand, there are so many scenes where nothing happens, and it's just bland character comedy, that I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be paying attention at all. I don't know what this show wants me to do with myself. Be engaged with the plot, or wait the plot out in order to get some fan service? What does this show want to be? A dumb fan service romp with mediocre comedy? Or a character-driven show about a split personality in city life? The show mentions gang violence, shootings and drugs, but then has a random scene where Alice lifts her skirt. What do you want to be, Oretachi ni Tsubasa wa Nai? Pick something. Anything! I tried to avoid this video being too negative, but it ended up kinda ranty towards the end. What do you think? Is the visual novel better than the anime, or is it just poorly adapted? Do you agree with my points or disagree? Let me know. Have a nice day!